Man, what's good? Good evening, family. Hope everyone is having a blessed Thursday evening or night, depending on which part of the world you're currently at. This is another episode of HBCU Fanatics, and I have my brother, Mr. Southern himself, Coach 67 Sports TV. What's going on?
I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm glad to be in the building. The Fanatics in the building. How you doing this evening, bro?
Man, I can't complain. I'm happy that the draft is over. Unfortunately, I would like to some of our HBCU players that we love watching this past season name across the TV, but a couple of them still got picked up from undrafted contracts. So we're gonna talk about it a little bit, but we're gonna get into it. But I'm doing all right, man.
Yeah.
But shout out to the mighty LDBC.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And those if you come in, or you come in during the live, or you just catch the replay, just make sure you hit the like button, share, subscribe, and continue to support. I really appreciate all the support. So first thing I want to talk about or go into, unfortunately, is not good news. Unfortunately, we lost another young man, former HBCU player, Texas A&M young man. His name was Kelvin Broadhurst Jr. He lost his life during involved in a motorcycle crash. And that's hard, man. We already lost the young man, the quarterback from Colorado, former Bethune-Cookman quarterback. And now we lost, same thing, dealing with vehicle issues, man. So, y'all, it's up to the family.
This player went to North Carolina A&T, correct?
Yeah, he went to the North Carolina A&T Aggies, correct?
Yeah.
Your boy Jay, salute, man. Salute. So those, man, just say a little prayer for the family. Just imagine, young man, world is wide open, man. Playing college ball for a Division I school, and then just life to be just snuffed out like that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. So yeah, definitely prayers to the family, and so rest in peace to the young brother Kelvin Broadhurst Jr., and then of course still rest in peace to Dominic Ponder.
Yeah.
But on a lighter note, let's talk about. I get my notes here. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's talk about FAMU wide receiver Kenari Wilcher enters the transfer portal, and what does that mean for the Rattlers? So we already know the issue that's going on with the Rattlers. They cannot partake in any other off-season or preseason activities. So what does that mean when they do really get ready to play for that game one game? And they're losing. They're pretty much one of their best wide receivers to the transfer portal. Yeah, what does that leave the Rattlers, man? Well, I just want to hear your opinion. I know a lot of people say does, obviously they're losing their players, but still, I mean the Rattlers already got hit with a blow. But now they lost one of their best wide receivers. So what do you think, Coach?
Well, I know a lot of people basically saying like, hey, pretty much a lot of FAMU players gonna be up for grabs because for all intents and purposes, they could hit the portal or they could go elsewhere or whatever the case may be. And I'm sure somebody like EA gonna be like, salute to him. Be like, hey, be all right. But hey, but you can protect
You cutting out, Coach.
You can hear me, bro?
I can hear you now.
Well, anyway, like I was saying, I think as long as you can protect players like Isaiah Knowles, which I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. He only has 1 year eligibility left. I think he's gonna be loyal to Quinn Gray because Quinn Gray pretty much put him on the map. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think, despite what people might say, I think a lot of those players are gonna stay loyal to FAMU. I think they're gonna be loyal to Quinn Gray. But they definitely got to get those APR issues resolved. They got to get those APR issues fixed.
Absolutely.
But I think the thing about it is I still think it's going to be open season on FAMU players. Not only that, but, which teams really would court those young men. And I think at the end of the day, I think the main thing that we need to focus on, you and I have talked about it multiple times on this show. For all intents and purposes, if you're a player and you enter in the transfer portal, you have to be certain you're going to have a soft place to land because, we always talk about the cautionary tale of players like Bashawn McCray. Bashawn McCray led Southern to the SWAC championship game as a quarterback, but for all intents and purposes, we know he was like a glorified running back playing quarterback. He was a good athlete, but I think he kind of overplayed his hand and he hit the portal because Southern wanted to take him and move him from quarterback to wide receiver, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not doing that." And he hit the portal, and for all intents and purposes, nobody really was interested, I mean, don't get me wrong, Dawson Odom showed some interest, when he head coach at Norfolk State.
Mm-hmm.
But, at the end of the day, if teams are not actively courting you and you're not certain you're gonna get a scholarship elsewhere, man, hey, you need to stay put. You know what I'm saying? Like the old folks just
I
say,
agree.
a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush.
I agree with you, man. So, and like you said the last show, you picked FAMU to be one of the top in their conference, top teams in their conference. But after the issues they've been having, I don't know, man. I can't even. I'm clueless of what's going
Yeah,
to happen to FAMU.
it's definitely up in the air now. I'm not gonna lie. I think with that alone, I mean, you kind of already assumed that Jackson State was gonna be the team beating the East anyway. I
Yes.
felt like the second spot was kind of 50-50 between Alabama State and FAMU. I think at this point now, I think Alabama State definitely surpasses FAMU. But, who knows? Maybe they're able to keep more of the players than we think. You might lose a couple, but I don't think as many players is going to hit the portal as people might think. And then not only that, like a lot of people been saying in these different SWAC and HBCU and Southern University Facebook groups that I'm in, who really want players from FAMU anyway, except for Isaiah Knowles. And I'm like, I think y'all kind of sleeping on the kind of talent that Quinn Gray brought to FAMU. Of course, a lot of players followed him like Isaiah Knowles, but nevertheless, I think he had a decent recruiting class despite what people might think. But definitely the APR issues, it has things somewhat in limbo and a bit of a question mark, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And salute to your boy Jay. He said, "Salute, fellas. What's going on, Jay? Appreciate you coming by, brother."
Salute your boy Jay.
Yeah, man. But that's well. I hope best wishes for the young man Kenari Wilcher. It's gonna definitely be interesting to see where he lands. Who knows? PWI school might snatch him up, like we said. HBCUs, especially with this transfer portal, how things are set up nowadays. You may be seeing him playing for a Division One PWI school
Yeah.
on the FBS. So who knows? But good luck to that young man. But it's something that you brought to my attention, and it's very interesting, Coach. The SWAC, the MEAC, the CIAA, and the SIAC have united to launch an official United Black College Football Poll in All-American teams. This is debuting for the 2026 season. This collaboration brings together the NCAA Division I and Division II HBCU conferences to create a single ranking system, weekly top 10 polls, and preseason, postseason All-American teams to enhance visibility and recognize top talent. And then that goes into another question I had, or another topic that we have: what do HBCUs do to get more exposure and recognition for the NFL draft? This is a good, in my opinion, this is a good step to trying something. What's your opinion?
Well, truthfully speaking, I kind of talked about it in my last video on my channel. I mean, in the past, you've had polls like the Harris poll or the Sheraton poll. Senior was real big on, going to get the local newspaper. Like, I think it used to come out with every Tuesday, I think. Or if not, he'll go online, once newspaper really started to fade and internet became more accessible. He would always, check out the latest, Sheraton poll or Harris poll. It would always come out like on a Tuesday, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's a good step, a positive move in the right direction. However, even with that being said, I think the thing that really kind of gives it more validity is the fact that the SWAC, MEAC, CIAA, and SIAC is backing it. But truthfully speaking, like I said in my video, if you and I and Jay Good, salute our brother Jay Good, if we decided we're gonna do a HBCU Fanatics black college football poll, and we're gonna every Tuesday, so to speak. I mean, that poll and our poll probably wouldn't be a huge difference between the two polls. I think the thing that kind of offers more credibility and more validity to this particular poll is the fact that the major HBCU conferences are backing it. So I think that's the thing that elevates it to the next level. And then, of course, they say they're going to have a preseason All-American poll, a postseason poll. I'm talking about in terms of postseason rankings for the players. Like, for example, if they'd have had one like this past, Kelby Gibbs probably would have been one of the top defensive players, like for Southern, for example. And, I mean, things like that, it kind of elevates the visibility of certain players, and it kind of will point you in the direction players that would need to, be highly touted for the HBCU Legacy Bowl in February. So I think it's a good step in the right direction. But my only question is, what would be different between, of course, even though those polls no longer exist, but this poll and a Harris poll and a poll polls of the past. So that's like I said earlier, I, it lends more validity and credibility to the fact that the four major HBCU conferences are backing you.
Yeah. I think that this is a very good thing for all HBCUs in Division I and Division II. So I'm excited to see how it works, man. And your boy Jay said, I think this will lead to an HBCU playoff system. That's gonna be interesting, man.
I mean, I understand what your boy Jay's saying, but I think the thing about it
If
is,
that's the case, go ahead.
I think my pushback for that is the fact that there's so much money tied up in the Celebration Bowl. I think if you can incorporate a playoff system and still keep the Celebration Bowl in play, I think it'll work. But I think if you would forego the Celebration Bowl for the playoffs, I don't think it would work. So I think if they could find some kind of way to, hey, because that's one thing. If you look at over the years, especially when you come to the MEAC, there's so many years since the MEAC doesn't have as many teams. Just think about it. Bethune and FAMU were in the MEAC, they're in the SWAC now. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, North Carolina A&T and who it was Hampton
Yeah.
left the MEAC. Those four teams leaving the MEAC really it weakened their conference. But over the years, had so many ties since they don't have no conference championship game. You done had two-way ties, three-way ties in terms of the MEAC champion. I think if you could get something going to where you would have maybe the top 2 teams in the SWAC and the top 2 teams in the MEAC, and I don't know how you would tie the CIAA and the SIEC in it or whatever. But if you could do something like that, then I think it'll work. You know what I'm saying? But if they would have to forego the Celebration Bowl to participate in the playoffs, nah, it ain't gonna work. Because, even though, somebody like myself who was a diehard Southern fan who actually been to Heritage Bowl back in the Gap, I really think, the Celebration Bowl is just the modern day Heritage Bowl. But the only difference is a lot more prestige and a lot more money tied to the Celebration Bowl than it was for the Heritage Bowl back in the Gap. I think if they'd had the kind of money tied to it that's tied to it now, then you wouldn't have individuals like P. Richardson complaining about the top 2 teams in the MEAC going to play in the 1AA playoffs since Southern wasn't playing in the 1AA playoffs. And not only that, but you wouldn't pay to go play in the 1AA playoffs or the FCS playoffs now. You would rather take that bag and play in the Celebration Bowl. So at the end of the day, all be all for HBCU, especially if you're in the SWAC and the MEAC,
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's your take. But overall, I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing. This is a good step.
I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, the fact that the conference is backing it, it gives it more credibility and validity. But let's see how it brings more visibility to HBCU football, because that's one thing I really kind of talked about in my last video. Like, what do we need to do to really elevate HBCU football in terms of from a visibility standpoint, not from just the perspective of having players get drafted in the NFL, but I mean, you got classics like the Bayou Classic, which is my favorite because Southern and Grambling, a old school rivalry. Sometimes you might have family members that went to both Southern and Grambling, a brother and sister, cousins, parents, and child, whatever. But you got Magic City Classic, you get the Orange Blossom Classic, State Fair Classic. You got all these different classics. But besides the classics, what other things we could do to elevate HBCU football and bring it a more prominent place where it's at the forefront of college football? I mean, besides the ranking system, what more can HBCUs and HBCU conferences do to keep the visibility of the game? And, that we need to be more forward thinking when it comes to HBCU football.
Okay, I definitely agree. Moving on. I know maybe we a few days late or maybe a week late on this, but I just want to talk about it about the DeSean Jackson allegations, or the lawsuit against him. So, player Malachi Biggs, a former player from Delaware State, Malachi Biggs is suing DeSean Jackson, suppose bullying and go ahead.
And Delaware State.
And Delaware State. Thank you for the correction. For bullying, hazing, and just keeping a culture of just basically just violence and basically gang language and tough guy culture inside the program. That's what he was advised. So DeSean Jackson has already addressed the allegations. So I'm gonna read this article, and shout out to HBCU Game Day. So anyone that's interested in seeing the full article, you go to HBCU Game Day and see it if you haven't done so already. So DeSean Jackson has said Jackson's response comes after a lawsuit filed in Superior Court named Delaware State DeSean Jackson, assistant coach Travis Clark, director of football operations Jane Hicks, and player Anthony Herbert as defendants. The complaint was filed by former Delaware State player Malachi Biggs. He alleges he suffered catastrophic injuries during an incident in the locker room on November 19, 2025. According to the lawsuit, Biggs was preparing for practice when Herb Hebert allegedly confronted another player over an Instagram post and turned his attention to Biggs. The complaint alleges Biggs was placed in a chokehold, lost consciousness, and fell to the floor, and says he suffered multiple jaw fractures, major dental damage, a deep chin laceration, and other serious injuries. The lawsuit also makes broader claims about Delaware State football, alleges failures in supervision, discipline, and program leadership. It also includes claims about gang language and a tough guy culture inside the program, which I just said. Those allegations have not been proven in court. Jackson's statement is the first direct public response tied into the lawsuit. It does not address the specific allegations in the complaint one by one. Instead, it firmly denies that he built or encouraged any kind of environment described in the filing. So, Coach, what is your thoughts on this?
I have some pretty strong feelings on this particular topic. When I played at Assumption, our head coach at the time played for LSU, and when I'm talking about LSU, when they, I think, went to a Shrimp Bowl or something back in the Gap or whatever. They went to some kind of bowl game, right? And basically, he had this seniority thing. Like, if a senior tell you to do something, like, you better do it. If you don't do what the seniors say do, like, the other senior's gonna jump on you. But of course, they didn't follow this like across the board. You know what I'm saying? Basically, there's certain underclassmen he really wasn't effing with. And the reason why I say that is because, like, we had before Brandon Jacobs, because like Brandon Jacobs also played at something with us, right? But before him, there was another guy that was about his size, a little bit taller or whatever, not quite as good an athlete. Like, they really wasn't messing with him. You know what I'm saying? He passed a few years back or whatever. But the point I'm trying to make was, it was kind of like a bullying seniority type thing. The senior tell you to do something, you better do it with the rule. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like the whole seniority thing. And they was kind of picking and choosing, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna, if this what you're gonna be this across the board. Don't decide, hey, we're gonna mess with this guy. We're not gonna mess with this guy, because he'll fight all us and he'll basically beat us all up. But we're gonna try to throw him a bullet these handful of guys over here. If you're gonna be that way across the board, you know what I'm saying? So I was never a huge fan of the hazing and this, that, and the third. And then, of course, certain schools and certain teams, they go overboard with the hazing. So at the end of the day, I really fervently believe that from a coaching standpoint, you really need to supervise your players better. I'm not gonna lie, I'm talking about all the way down to the Pop Warner BB, middle school, high school, even college. You know what I'm saying? I think if you really don't need as much supervision once you get to the NFL level, grown men, you know what I'm saying? But in college, these still young men. But at the end of the day, like, I was always anti, hazing, bullying, seniority type culture. Don't get me wrong, I believed in seniority to a certain degree. Like, if this guy eighth grader and this guy a seventh grader, if everything even on all sides, I'm gonna go with the eighth grader as opposed to the seventh grader. But nevertheless, when it comes to, hey, if this upperclassman tell you to do something, you better do it. These five guys gonna jump on you. I was never a proponent of that. I never did rock with that. I thought that was some cowardly type bull crap, me myself.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is a cowardly behavior. I don't like that hazing or none of that foolishness. I found DeSean Jackson's statement. He said, I take the safety, well-being, and development of every student athlete in Delaware State university football program seriously, Jackson wrote. I have never fostered or encouraged hazing, bullying, or any violent environment, and that has never been the culture I have worked to build. So, Coach, do you think that just a few of those young men just was on that BS, and I guess the staff failed to address it, and that young man just got those injuries? Or
Well, I'm not gonna lie, in certain instances, you really don't know what is what, because I'll give you an example. I think when it came, the example I gave earlier, when I was like a sophomore at Assumption, I really think the head coach really had a seniority thing, and because the reason being was because this didn't just happen like my sophomore year, even my freshman year, players complained about it, whatever the case may be. But the issue for him was like my freshman and sophomore year, those 2 years combined, I think he won like 2 games and he ended up getting fired. You know what I'm saying? But the point I'm trying to make is, in some instances, like coaches condone that type of hazing, that type of treatment, this, that, and the third, whatever. But on the flip side, you have other instances where I even just say, for example, this past school year, I've known a handful of coaches, a few of them on the middle school level, one of them on the high school level, where they had like similar little incidents, this, that, and the third, and they didn't condone none of this nonsense in terms of, the hazing, the bullying, the seniority culture. You better do what these upperclassmen tell you to do type of stuff. They didn't condone that type of stuff. They just, in all these instances, these individuals were short-staffed from the standpoint of they didn't have enough coaches to adequately supervise the players when they were in the locker room doing whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So they had different incidents on these different respective teams. So sometimes as a coach, you don't have to foster that type of environment for players to really kind of take matters into their own hands. So at the end of the day, and I mean, like I said, you even hear stuff about this, like on a professional level when it comes to like the NFL, with the Martin kid name, I can't think his name. He said he was being bullied or whatever the case may be, and then even I saw Kenyon Martin.
Incognito, yeah.
Huh?
By Incognito, yeah.
Yeah, by Richie Incognito. Yeah. And then recently I saw Steven Jackson and Kenyon Martin. They was talking about how when they were rookies for the New Jersey Nets, like Kendall Gill and some of the like some of the veteran players, a lot of these teams have these hazing rituals where, hey, you got to buy the veterans on the team donuts every day or whatever the case may be, right? So I guess Steven Jackson had these tennis shoes or whatever, and basically like Kendall Gill, I guess Steven Jackson didn't want to say the name, but Kenyon Martin was like, no, hey, it was him. It was Kendall Gill. He was like, hey, them some nice shoes. He was like, hey, I want them shoes. Like, you can have them. He was like, well, I was gonna take them anyway, like veteran's choice. And Kenyon Martin was like, nah, no the hell you ain't. Don't give me your shoes. You ain't getting nothing. You know what I'm saying? He was like, nah, bro, we ain't going for none of that. And basically, since Kenyon Martin was the number 1 pick, and he was a dog, he wasn't going for none of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, if you want, we could scuff. You know what I'm saying? And since Kmart kind of was like, he wasn't going for the bullying tactics. He kind of was like a aggressive Debo type guy anyway. You know what I'm saying? So Stat was like, hey, since he going in, hey, he got my back, I got his back type of thing. You know what I'm saying? And really, kind of that's how it was when I was talking about the earlier situation when I was at Assumption. Like them seniors, they'll bully a smaller guy that they really could take advantage of. Like just say, for example, myself, when I was like a sophomore, but some of them juniors that, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and I ain't bullying no bigger guy, you know what I'm saying? Because they knew they weren't gonna go for it. And that's the thing that used to make me look at them like cowards. Hey, you gonna pick and choose? No, don't pick and choose. If you want smoke with people, you want it across the board. You're not gonna say, hey, all right, we're gonna pick on these 5 guys, but this one guy here, we're gonna leave him alone. So I don't like that hazing culture. I don't like that bullying culture. Now, if you got like a little hazing ritual, like, you know, you in the NFL, like, hey, you in the NBA, you gotta buy the veterans donuts every day. Yeah, cool. You know what I'm saying? I think something like that is feasible. You know, you got to carry the veterans bags or something like that. That's feasible. But you know, for you to go over the top where you beating up people and you bullying people, strong arming people, and you putting people in physical harm, or you put them in harm's way, you injuring people. Nah, I ain't for that. And that's the thing about it. In this particular scenario, we don't know if DeSean Jackson really fostered that type of environment, he just had knowledge of what was going on. And I'm not gonna lie, we don't know which direction to go in either way, because you know we don't have access to Delaware State locker room, their program. We don't know what's going on.
Right.
But his response sounded extremely PR. It sounded like an extremely PR response. But at the end of the day, we really don't know what it is. But I think the fact that he played in the NFL and he's a high-profile individual, he's probably trying to get a Power 4 PWI type of job. I think give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, I will say this, and every man gonna feel me, especially if you play sports or play college or high school, whatever. So, any young man listening to me, I hope you can hear me when I say this. You must establish, the first thing you need to establish that you ain't no bitch. Like that story you just said, Kenyon Martin was a rookie, and Kendall Gill tried to take another dude's shoes and
Steven
Jackson's shoes, and Kmart established ain't no punks over here. So I got a quick story. So first time moved to Texas, enrolled into the high school team out here in Texas. So you know, already established I'm gonna play D lineman. So those who know about Texas high school football, if you're on the football team, your 8th period is going to be football practice, right? So I was walking in the hallway, mind my business.
I don't mean to cut you off, bro.
Assumption
it was 7,000 sports for us.
Right.
Well, nowadays they have block scheduling, so that, like you said, that 8th or that 4th period is dedicated to sports. But when I was in high school at Assumption, we had 7 class periods. And that last period was 7,000 sports. If you played on the basketball team, you start basketball practice early. Played on the football team, you start football practice early. Whatever sport you was in, you would start practice during that last class period. But proceed, bro.
Right. So I was walking in the hallway, basically, like as you said, with schools like Louisiana, Texas, some of your classes are going to be geared toward, you know, sports, or whatever your team you make, your last period is going to be practice, basically. So walking in the hallway, minding my business, so they know I'm the new guy. The linebacker bumped into me hard as hell for no reason. I knew what he was doing. Okay, I got you. I'm gonna see you again, 8th period. So soon as 8th period, because it was burning me up all because I'm the new guy. What I'm gonna do? Swing at him so I can get kicked off the team? But I got something for your ass. 8th period. Hey, homie, me and you hitting drills right now. Me and you hitting drills right now. Because it was time where we matched, we partnered up, and we practice our hitting technique. Me and you hitting drills right now. I kid you not. He looked at me, he side-eyed me. Motherfucker, excuse me, the young man ain't moved. Okay, so I know what you built, how you built. You want to play the bully, but you ain't about that life. Because you know I'm going to knock fire out your ass. So my point of me telling the story, always let everyone know you will not tolerate bullying. If you try to bully me, expect the same energy or even more coming back your way.
Yeah, I like that story, but just me kind of going back to the story I told about when I was at Assumption, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seniors had established this seniority type culture, right? And the issue with that was it really wasn't kind of like there are instances where sophomores like myself or certain individuals fight back. But the thing about it, it wasn't a one-on-one type of thing. If you fought a senior back, like 4, 5, or 6 of them would jump on you. You know what I'm saying? Nah, if it was to a point where all the sophomores said we all gonna stick together, or all the juniors said we gonna stick together, it was cool. But you got to realize some of these guys that was juniors, they were starters too. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, like I was saying, there was this big guy. He was bigger than what Brandon Jacobs is now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Time. So even if it was been like 5 or 6 of them, they didn't want no smoke with him, so they wouldn't mess with him, you know what I'm saying? And he wanted smoke, you know. So they would leave him alone. But a smaller guy like myself or whatever, one of these other guys, you know, they would try to pick on certain people, this, that, and the third. So, like I said, it's in that particular instance, it was a bullying culture, you know what I'm saying? Even when I was coaching. Give you another story, right? I was coaching high school basketball in Central Louisiana, right? And the regime, it still was the same head coach. One of the same coaching staff, but the team from the year before, like the top player, like the top, let me see, top players were gone, right? So they established like this bullying type.
You cutting out, coach.
Say that again, bro.
I said you was cutting out, but now I can hear you.
All right. So anyway, so they had established this bullying type culture. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes when people get bullied, they won't bully other people. So it was like when these seniors, they were juniors, like when they were younger, they were getting bullied too. So now that they seniors, now they won't be the bullies, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bro, it tells in the way y'all play. Anytime a team gonna fight y'all back, like when y'all evenly match, y'all fold. But when y'all can overmatch the other team, y'all just blow them out. But any 50-50 type of games, y'all lose because y'all some cowards, you know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, y'all were bullied. Why y'all won't bully these younger kids? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, y'all some cowards, bro.
That's my point. So, like, did we tell you the story? Like, people that bully, nine times out of 10, they cowards. They cowards. So, unfortunately, like you said, there is situations where, whether it's in locker rooms or wherever sport, where the seniors will haze the younger and the freshmen or the younger students, and then they may not have the power to fight them, to stand up for themselves. At that point, I would even go as far as saying that the staff needs to step in and do something to address that. Because I ain't gonna lie, I don't want to speak out of turn because I never experienced that. Thank the Lord. So never mind, I ain't gonna say what I did, but yeah, I never experienced in that. We always been picked on a bully, but not to the certain extent where like you be getting jumped on or multiple people jumping on you, whatever. But
Well, I think the only thing that really helped them, they didn't cross certain lines to where it got out of hand. But I still kind of felt like it was a cowardly type move. I mean, don't get me wrong. You trying to establish seniority. We the seniors. And I think that's the only thing that really helped them was the fact that, hey, they stuck together. If all of us sophomores would have stuck together like all of them seniors, it probably still wouldn't have been no match because they were seniors. We were sophomores. You know what I'm saying? So that made a difference. But at the end of the day, I think the fact that they stuck together it really kind of, made it go further than what it was for one. And then second of all, it didn't matter hell because we only won one game the whole season anyway. You know what I'm saying? I think 1 or 2 games or whatever. So at the end of the day, realistically, some of them, probably a couple more sophomores should have ended up starting. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Probably better. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like a culture thing. But like I said, it was cowardly from the standpoint of that junior there. There's like 6 6'6", 6'7", like 260, 265, 270, 275. You ain't gonna F with him. But myself, I was like with a 5'4", 5'5", 150 pound sophomore. Oh yeah, you would mess with me, but you ain't gonna mess with him. And it's like, come on, bro, that's some whole stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's what people do. Anyone, any that I feel like they can get a free win or easy win, they'll pick on that person.
I mean, now don't get me wrong. Then I had instances where you know, a sophomore be like, man, I ain't taking this. Hey, they'll fight that person back. But then you'll have another senior. They might not all out jump, but they'll intervene to the point where it gave the senior the competitive advantage. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, they didn't cross certain lines to where anybody got seriously hurt or seriously injured. But what it did was it ran away players that really could have helped their team, and they would have been better off. You know what I'm saying, in the long run.
And they stuck with them scrubs. So yeah, that's what causes that what goes back to management needed a good job of setting the rules about bullying, hazing, so you won't run off your good players that can impact the team in a good way. So that's a good point, Coach.
Well, and when I say good players, I'm not talking about another good player that was a senior. I'm talking about this kid would have been like, hey, he a sophomore.
I know what you're talking about, that freshman and sophomore that got potential. I know exactly what you're talking about.
At Assumption at that time, you wasn't gonna be no freshman and really get no run. Unless she was like, of course, Brandon Jacob, he was like a freak of nature. I mean, as a freshman, he was 6'5", 240. He ran like with a 4'5", 4'6", 40. So he was like a freak of nature genetically. You know what I'm saying? He hit the genetic Powerball. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about aside from him. Really, if you wasn't that type of freak of nature, you wasn't gonna play as no freshman. But so this more like sophomores, and of course, they had a couple sophomores that really could have helped them, and they wouldn't come out for the team because they knew they was on some bull crap, or they came and a senior did some bull crap, and they tried to fight the senior back. Other seniors got involved, this, that, and the third, and they ended up quitting the team. And I'm like, look, bro, that dude could have helped y'all. Like I remember my freshman year, a sophomore was going out, and he got into a run-in with a senior, and another senior intervened, this, that, and the third, and I don't know what happened, but from what I'm understanding, the coach kind of backed the seniors, and he ended up quitting. Then to myself, man, that dude could have helped y'all. You know what I'm saying? Instead of y'all winning 2 games that year, y'all probably could have won 4. You know what I'm saying? Because, things a little bit, it's still somewhat the same. But, you and I, we talked about on the Southern Baller Show one evening. It was me, it was you, Brent Fox, and myself. And we talked about how, based on the conferences you in, you can go like 8-2, 9-1, and still not make the playoffs in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Louisiana, you could be 4-6, 3-7, and make the playoffs if you got enough power points. But the thing about it is, you got to play like murderer's row to be like, if you're in a weak district, but you play some savages. Because I remember one year we played like St. James and Donaldsonville and Lutcher and MEAC. I'm like, God damn. I'm like, the coach trying to put us in. You know what I'm saying? So we went 4-6 that season, but we made the playoffs because we had a weak district. We won 3 district games. We only had 5. So we won 3 of the 5 district games we had, and then we won a non-district game. But we had so many power points that we made the playoffs. We lost in the first round to Broadmoor. They beat us. They came to the podium and they beat us, I think, either 6-8, 7. No, I think they beat us 7-8. They got a 2-point conversion. That was the difference in the game. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, all of those power points, it really kind of make a difference. So if you could have won a couple more games by keeping these couple sophomores here, you probably would have saved your job instead of, hey, you win 2 games one year and 1 game next year. Now your ass got 5. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like that culture, I think it kind of ran away players that could have helped this program, But of course, his philosophy was, he had he ran a lot of stuff that they ran when he played at LSU. Like to give you an example, like a flex defense. For you to be in a defense game where everybody pretty much ran the ball, to be a defensive lineman and play 2 yards off the ball and try to do this read and react crap, I'm like, man, you can't do that because guess what? Like I remember this team at home named Terrebonne, and they had this like 250-pound running back. He was like 6'3", big fat ass running back. Bro, they would just give him the ball, and he would fall forward for just 5 yards every time he touched the ball. So I'm like, man, you can't play that far off the ball, like 2-3 yards off the line of scrimmage and doing this read and
No,
react.
you got to crowd that type of running
Yeah,
back. Yeah.
that thing, and you got to shoot gaps. I'm like, y'all could do that at LSU when you got playing with all these goddamn All-Americans you playing with in the 80s. And you can't do this now, bro. So I think his coaching philosophy wasn't going to be conducive to him, having success anyway. But some of them players could have helped him win if they wouldn't have had the culture they had back in them days,
And talk about coaching. I don't want to get too far off the topic, but what you just said when we was talking about how in high school the conferences matter. What you just said, you bringing that up just reminded me of something that just happened last year, which I take my hat off to this high school football coach who won the 1A state championship. And let me tell you what he did, and to go to what we discussed. So he knew he was in a weak conference. So the first 5 games was a 4A powerhouse that almost won the state championship. A 3A powerhouse that went far in the playoffs this past year. Another 4A powerhouse. So the first 5 games were not 1A schools, man. They were powerhouses. So he was getting his squad ready for that playoff run because he knew he was going to run the conference. And then he was going to get his team was going to be battle ready for the 1A powerhouses. And by the time they played them 1A powerhouse, he already played the 4A or 5A or 6A powerhouses. So, they shouldn't be surprised by anything. And that worked because they won the state championship. So I thought that was that. I mean, you bring that up just reminded me of that.
Yeah. I mean, that was a good strategy right there,
A very good strategy. Very good strategy. And salute to Big Joe Townsend, man. He said salute to the family.
Man, salute Big Joe. Y'all go get some Old Hillside bourbon, you know what I'm saying? Old Hillside bourbon company, you dig?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The link's right here. Black owned. All right. So, yeah. But moving on, man. I hope everything is not what it seems when it comes to DeSean Jackson, Coach DeSean Jackson over at Delaware State, because I'm rooting for that brother. But if he's not doing a good job of creating a culture there, then yeah, something needs to happen. But I don't, like you said, we don't know what's going on, so I'm going to reserve my judgment. But I hope the young man that's Malachi Biggs, he go ahead.
Hope everything works out for him.
Yeah, I hope everything works out for him. That young man.
All involved, DeSean Jackson, Delaware State. Him, hopefully he's well. I don't know what his playing situation is. Hopefully he's able to find somewhere else to play or whatever. Hopefully his injuries weren't too bad, but I wish everybody well that's involved.
And I'm gonna say this. I hope it's not the case. Well, because some of these, I ain't gonna lie, some of these young kids soft, man. They start stuff, and then they don't know how to finish. So I hope not the case. He was starting with people, and then he got, he got whatever happened to him did to him, and then now he want to cry and complain and want to sue Coach Jackson and Delaware State. I pray that's not the case. I'm not saying it is.
No, go, bro. Go. Continue.
I'm not saying it is, but I know a lot of kids soft out here, man.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. But I'm not saying it don't happen with young men, but in my line of work in education, I mostly notice that more so from the girls where they start stuff and then they usually want to get their behind whipped, and either they want to cry wolf or once they get beat up, then they won't grab the girl by the hair and they don't want to let the girl hair go. And, you know, Sam used to happen all the time when I was tenure, but me coaching, because at the time I was coaching both boys and girls basketball, but I'm talking about just the general student population. I don't know, seems like every school I've been at, the girls always fight way more than the boys. Every school. Even, you know, some of the roughest schools in Baton Rouge, there's one rough school I was in Baton Rouge, the girls always fought more. And the girl that always started the stuff to get beat up, then she grabbed the other girl hair, and then it'd take us like 5-10 minutes to pry this girl fingers out of this girl hair. So I used to hate that, bro. Like, if you can't finish it, don't start it, you know.
Yeah, that's my whole point. You said it better than I could say it. Yeah. If you can't finish, don't start it. But I hope that's not the case. But if he really was bullied, yeah, yeah, something needs to happen. Sorry to say. But not. I hope not to Coach DeSean. Why does Coach DeSean Jackson have to deal with that? How come the people under him who watches they have the close knit of like the wide receiver coach or whatever the other coach under him? Why are they allowing all that to happen around him? If that's the case, I'm speaking hypothetically here. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm just relaying it to you. You being a coach and in education.
Well, I mean, we don't know all the dynamics behind the scenario. I mean, he might not even foster that type of culture. It might have been a hazing thing where a handful of guys on the team got carried away on their own. Or it could have been a situation where he and another teammate had some kind of situation and the guy might have been hazing and bullying him himself. So we don't know. That's why I'm saying it's too many moving parts to this particular situation. We don't know if it's a lack of institutional control by Coach Jackson and his staff at Delaware State. We don't know if it's a one role player or a handful of role players, or a few role players taking matters into their own hands. We don't know the dynamics. Or like you said, maybe it's even a situation where he started it, another young man got the best of him, and now he's crying wolf. So it could be a variety of different variables at play in this particular equation. We don't know what it is, though, you know. But time reveals all, you know.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. But I hope everything gets squared away, man.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next topic. NCAA President Charlie Baker proposes a legal tampering window before the transfer portal opens. What's your thoughts on that, Coach?
I talked about this in my last video too, and that's already happening. I mean, just like, for example, I'm gonna use another example as an analogy. Like we talk about NIL, like you can legally play the players now, right? Due to name, image, and likeness. But players been getting paid under the table for years anyway. And I think that type of scenario, we're gonna kind of use LSU for an example, right? I've known a lot of high profile players that's gone like from our local area and played at LSU, and they all but say like, hey, yeah, they gave us money under the table. Like, hey, we couldn't afford a vehicle. You know, they provided a vehicle for us, this, that, and the third. We had our own apartment. We had this, we had that, and the third. You know, Big Joe talked about it, you know, when a couple times when, you know, he was on the Southern Baller show, you know, we had delve off into this topic. And for all intents and purposes, back in the gap, players were getting paid under the table. Ain't no two ways about it. But now it's more out in the open, and it's more the money is bigger and there's more money at stake, if that makes sense. For all intents and purposes, it's been happening, and the league of tampering thing is happening now because, you know, we talked about on this show, I talked about on my channel how Jackson State had this player, and this player was entering the portal, and he had a do not contact distinction attached to him. So basically, he had an agent or whatever the case may be. He was transferred from Jackson State to another institution or whatever, and he made it clear like, hey, don't contact this player. Basically, it kind of came across as another school tampered with him, and they got him to leave Jackson State to go to their institution, and they don't want nobody else to tamper with him. So, you know, it's already happening, bro. So I don't think they need to add in this league of tampering because it's already happening, you know.
Yeah, man. It's already happening. So when I saw that, I was like, whoop-de-doo. It's been happening. So Just want to get your. I know you already just want to get your thoughts again on that, man.
Oh, for sure.
But
I'm more than glad to get my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
right, yeah. Let's go to something. What's up, Anthony Bolton? What's going on, brother? But let's go into all the players who were picked up on undrafted free agents. So as you know that no HBCU players were drafted, which is crazy to me.
Insane, bro.
Insane, bro. Insane. And I bet again, some of these HBCU players are gonna be better than some of these sixth or seventh, or even fifth or even fourth round picks that were picked up. But it's crazy. But on a good note, so I'm gonna give you the list of all the people that were or the young men that were picked up on free agent signings and then rookie minicamp invites. So first, I'm gonna get Kelby Givens out the way. He got an invite to the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, sir. Salute to Kelby
Givens. Southern edge or outside linebacker. Most likely, he's probably gonna be playing outside linebacker.
I think he's gonna be a specialty pass rusher if you ask me.
Okay,
Unless he's in a 3-4. If it's a 3-4 scheme, then yeah, outside linebacker. However, I think if you have a team that run like a 4-2-5 and you need somebody that can come in and rush the passer in specific scenarios, I think he your guy. You know, if you got some kind of NASCAR package or something like that, I think he that guy, you know.
Yeah. Cleveland Browns picked up as an undrafted free agent Janalen Dupree, wide receiver from Jackson State. So congratulations on grandson of Marcus Dupree. Detroit Lions picked up the one, in my opinion, the best one of the should have been drafted. He was, in my opinion, him and the he was, in my opinion, should have been drafted. Other than Kelby Givens, out of all the HBCU prospects, is Eric Hunter, linebacker from Morgan State. He was a dog. But he was picked up by the Detroit Lions. And my favorite running back to watch, Jamari Taylor, running back, North Carolina Central. He started at North Carolina Central, but he transferred to Virginia, and he did his thing in Virginia. He was picked up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, are the rookie minicamp invites. So, Prairie View A&M cornerback Jalen Shelton was picked up by the Atlanta Falcons. One of the best running backs in Division II, Virginia Union running back Curtis Allen. He got 2 invites, Coach. Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks.
Woo! I ain't gonna lie. If I'm him, I think I'm going the Seahawks route. Saying so with the boy Walker, the running back Walker.
Yeah.
What his name is?
Which one?
The Walker boy from the Seahawks, running back.
Oh yeah, Kenneth Walker. Yeah. He with the Chiefs now.
Yeah, I would say he left and went to the Chiefs.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie. I think, since he left and went to the Chiefs, that might open up, some room for somebody to shine. So I think that'll be a better look.
Yeah, definitely be a better look because of course he's not starting over Jeremiah Love, but they'll give him a good look since that's what they got their eyes open for. My Baltimore Ravens picked up South Carolina State quarterback Billy Atkins. I hope we keep him than Diego Pavia. Yeah, whatever. Hope we keep Billy Atkins on the practice squad. We can get rid of Diego Pavia. Kansas City Chiefs picked up Jared Washington, defensive back from South Carolina State.
All right, go Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, you know they love their DBs.
Yeah.
Minnesota, the Minnesota Vikings picked up defensive lineman from Jackson State, Jeremiah Williams. He was a dog, so I'm not surprised.
That boy was a dog. Him, I ain't gonna lie on him.
Yeah. Another Jackson State defensive lineman, Quincy Ivory.
I already knew.
He should have been drafted.
Yes, sir.
Picked up by Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jordan Robinson, defensive back from Livingstone. And then transferred to Virginia. Picked up by Tampa Bay Bucks. And then lastly, Matthew Henry, wide receiver who started with Livingstone and transferred to Western Kentucky, picked up by the Titans.
All right.
So that's all I have. Of course, the dudes, there will be more.
Hey,
but it's what we have right now.
One of these NFL teams need to invite my dog, Kendrick Grimes. Kendrick Grimes is being somebody camp, man. I don't care what
I I hear you, man. I hear you.
Kendrick Grimes, you dig? And salute to Kendrick.
Salute to Kendrick Grimes, but he'll have his chance. He definitely will have his chance, man. If not, it's always the UFL or CFL. You know.
Man, hell with that. We want Kendrick Grimes in.
I hear you, man. I hope he really do get picked up, man.
Yeah, Kendrick Grimes and Kelby Gibbons. Kelby Gibbons, Kendrick Grimes, and not only that, but Vince Page Jr. or Vince Sullivan. You know, hopefully he lands somewhere on his feet too. You know.
Yeah, but man.
But salute and shout out to all our standout HBCU football players. You know, hopefully they all make a NFL roster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. But and pretty much. So, what do you think? And we've been banging on this question for many shows, but I'm gonna ask again. So, what the HBCU conference is doing, like the SWAC, MEAC, CIAA, and the SIAC, are uniting to create Black college football pole and All-American teams. That's a good step. But what else, in your opinion, they need to do to do more for these players to get drafted? Because last year was only one player. This year, none.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't know the solution to this particular problem. And you know, of course, you know, sometimes even people trolling and people hating, you know, haters give you content too. You know, there was this one clown, I ain't gonna even mention no names, basically saying you and I were some clowns for even saying that, because not that many FCS players in general get drafted in the NFL draft, which I don't care. We're not talking about FCS as a whole. We talking about HBCU players. We ain't talking about no FCS, so we care less. You know what I'm saying? But the point I'm trying to make is, even
that person inclined to think these young men ain't got the talent to be drafted.
Yeah, but this is the point I'm trying to say. Even haters could give you some ammo and ammunition from the standpoint of you like, well, if only like a few FCS players getting drafted or didn't get drafted in general, so like basically we some clowns. But even with that being said, I don't know if there's anything you really could do to really, you know, push an agenda that's really gonna get more spotlight to HBCU players and make them draftable. You really can't make NFL teams draft HBCU players, because look, for example, you know, we talked about the Rooney Rule and how big a joke it is. Yeah, it gives Black coaches interview opportunities, but it does not guarantee that these coaches are going to get head coaching jobs. I mean, Eric Bieniemy and Leslie Frazier, had they been white, they'd have been a head coach a long time ago, both of them in the NFL. So that's really not going to guarantee that you're going to get more HBCU players drafted. And in fact, if you want, you can Google them, right? When I was telling you about the school earlier, while I coached boys and girls basketball, and I was teaching high school and middle school because it's a 7 through 12 school, right? Well, one of the faculty members that was a coworker of mine, his name was Carlos Pennywell. He played for Grambling, and he played for head coach Eddie Robinson. And he told me this years ago. He told me this I'm thinking like 12, 13 years ago. No, he told me this 12 years ago, right? Basically, he was like, Coach, he said, I'm going to just be honest with you. He said, the way the NFL draft is set up, it is, we always talk about systemic oppression, systemic this, systemic that, and DEI and affirmative action and all that other stuff. He said, Coach, the way it's set up for players that come from Power 4 and Power 5 PWIs to really, get drafted. It's really not really set up for HBCU players to really get drafted unless you like an all-world type of player. He played in the NFL. He played for the New England Patriots, and of course, back in those days, they had a lockout, and a player that stood out to me during the lockout was New Orleans Saints quarterback John Fourcade. But once the lockout ended, and all the dogs came back, Fourcade wasn't the guy that we thought he was going to be. But anyway, he was like, I think the union president of top guys in the union in the third. He ended up getting blackballed or whatever. But basically, he just broke down the whole power structure in terms of the draft, this, that, and the third. So he was like, he said on his team, he had some guys that got drafted ahead of him, whatever. But he was like, on that particular team he was on, like players like him and other HBCU players was really the real dogs on the team back in those, early 80s, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of, he was saying, he told me this 12 years ago that basically he said, Coach, the way it's set up for really to kind of push HBCU players down. It's not really it's really not set up for HBCU players to be drafted. So at the end of the day, I think unless you producing a ridiculous amount of high caliber NFL type quality players that's undeniable, like Barry McNabb, like your Walter Pease, like your Jerry Rices, like your Tavares Jacksons, like your Robert Mathises. Unless you got a Michael Strands, unless you got a ridiculous amount of those type of players.
Robert Mathis, like you said.
Producing them players like from your particular institution consistently, then I think you're gonna be hard pressed to even get HBCU players that type of attention.
Yeah, man, it's a grind. It's a steep hill, man. And Bolton said they should have a Rooney Rule for the players in HBCUs.
Yeah, we did a deep dive on the Rooney Rule on the Southern Baller Show, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the Rooney Rule, even though it does guarantee that you gotta at least interview one minority candidate, it really don't guarantee that you're gonna get a certain amount of paid coaching opportunities to black coaches or even minority coaches in general. At least you got something in place because in NCAA, a lot of these head coaches don't even get a shot at opportunity. I kind of feel like it's only smoke and mirrors. It really, don't get you more black head coaches in the NFL, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree, man. It does not. Big Red salute, man. Salute everybody. Salute Big Red, man. Host of Big Boy Talk, man. Y'all go over there and support the brother. Good content over there. Him, J6, 86 Goats. Good brothers, man. But yeah, man, this is year in year out, man. Yeah, but this is a good step. What they're doing, combining the conferences to create a All-American poll. I think that's a good step. This is a good step. That's a good step. That's definitely a good step. But Coach, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. It's a good show.
Excellent show, bro.
Good conversation. I'm glad you was able to take time out your evening to do it, man. Let everybody know where they can meet you and see you.
You can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I am primarily here on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. I've been putting it off. I've been delaying it, but I'm gonna drop some more clips from Southern University 2026 Spring Showcase. Also, I'm working on another interview. Actually, I'm reaching out to a few different people to get another interview. And not only that, but I want to get another interview with Zacchaeus Cooper. In fact, we might try to get him here on a Fanatics, if he's willing to do it. But I'm trying to expand my brand, my channel, and not only that, we trying to expand the HBCU Fanatics brand also. But we appreciate everybody that came through, that showed some love, that's been rocking with us, and of course, salute to the awesome and amazing LDBC. Yeah, they.
Yes, sir. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, and I appreciate everyone who came and supported us, man. Continue to hit the like button, share, subscribe. Trying to continue to build this channel. Appreciate everyone who's been supporting me from day one. I promise you I will continue to be consistent, but I appreciate all the support, man. But continue to catch us every Thursday or Friday, depending on the schedule. And then, of course, we have the Southern Baller Show every Sunday or Monday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, depending on the schedule. But yeah, but this was another installment of HBCU Fanatics. Y'all be blessed.